Hafaday, and welcome to CNMI Weekly, where we recap the biggest headlines from the past week and share what you need to know heading into the weekend. In our first story, we speak with Nelson Rios, the son of the late Jesus P. Rios, who was found dead days after he was reported missing. Nelson shares his concerns about the investigation.
He loves to plan. He's very quiet. He likes to sit and just admire his surroundings. He's a very humble person.
Nelson Rios describes his late father, Jesus Rios, in an interview with KUAM. His father was last seen on February 5th and days later was found dead near a residential compound just 100 yards away from his Finasisu home. But Nelson, who lives on Guam, says authorities did not move fast enough.
To my knowledge, and according to my siblings who have reported him missing at the time, there was no case number or an acknowledged form that he was reported missing at that time until the third day of his disappearance.
He said authorities should have taken the case more seriously since his father was 67 years old and had underlying conditions.
I highly don't see it as it was treated the way it's supposed to be. I say that the staff and the staff of mayor's office were more involved in the search of my late father. If it was, and a plan was in place in the most effective way, I believe he could have been found sooner and not 2 days after he was deceased.
The Department of Public Safety told the media in a previous press conference that there was no trauma to the body and no obvious signs of foul play. DPS PIO Sergeant Fred Sato told KUAM today that Rios' cause of death was a heart attack. Meanwhile, Nelson says he'll continue to bring awareness to his father's story.
I am not going to just let this be, because I feel that it has happened in the past with other families, and I feel that they are going through the same pain and circumstances of what we are going through at the moment.
KUAM has reached out to DPS for comment. And in our next story, it's described as the voyage to digital equity. We learn more about the 5-year plan to bridge the digital divide in the Northern Marianas. The NMI Broadband Policy and Development Office is accepting public comments until April 6 for the Commonwealth's first digital equity 5-year plan.
The Digital Equity Plan is a 5-year sustainable plan for the CNMI, and this is the ways in which BPD plans to bridge the digital divide within the CNMI.
The plan covers 5 major areas: workforce and economic development, health outcomes, education, essential services, and civic and social engagement. The plan comes after a series of meetings with community members. The plan explained that 38% of the population falls below 150% of the poverty line. They're hoping the plan will increase affordability, accessibility, and adaptability in the digital world.
Some of our big projects would be like getting core curriculum for digital literacy, and that would primarily pertain to our students here in PSS, or even hopefully in the private school sectors as well. Another thing that we look towards, and something really big that we've been wanting to work with, was telehealth. We'd like to ensure cybersecurity within our communities, especially for the elderly who are most vulnerable.
The full plan can be viewed at bpd.cnmi.gov. Now, over the weekend, we got the chance to go to 500 Sail's Canoe launch ceremony and blessing, where they unveiled what is believed to be the first modern replica of a Carolinian canoe, which will be joining the fleet of canoes that will be sent to the 13th Festival of the Pacific Arts in Hawaii later this year.
My name is Mario Benito. I built a fiberglass Carolinian canoe with the help of everybody, Pete, Steve, everybody from the 500 Sail. It took us more than a year to complete. My grandfather, they shipped his canoe over here to participate in the race at the Hudson River. Yeah, in early 70s, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 72, during the TT. And then they ship it over here to participate in that, and then, like it's just stuck over here because they don't have enough budget to send it to the U.S. And then, like it's just sitting at the airport for a long time. And then when I came here in 1980, that canoe was still in the airport. But when I started, like working with the 500 sail, Pete was, like telling me, like maybe it's good, like if we can build a Carolyn canoe because, like there's tomorrow canoe. I say, why not? Like let's, I want to build a canoe in a memory of my grandfather's canoe. I'm really proud that, like I first started, like a Carolina fiberglass. It's a hybrid canoe. I just want the community to know that, you can do anything you want. And especially, like I want them to, like continue revive our culture. That's what I'm trying to do, to revive the seafaring culture and anything that deal with the culture, the local culture. It doesn't matter if Chamorro or Carolina but like as like from Micronesia.
Thanks for tuning in to CNMI Weekly. We'll have more stories from the NMI right after this break. Welcome back to CNMI Weekly. In our next report, we learn from ladies in the law. The Judiciary and NMI District Court celebrated Women's Month by sharing a conversation with high school students at Marianas High School. The NMI Local and District Court celebrated Women's Month with Marianas High School students in a conversation about the legal profession with leading women.
We hope this exchange enhances and promotes diversity in the legal profession, highlights women with diverse backgrounds involved in the dispensing of justice in the courtroom.
20 judiciary professionals who are women shared their experiences with the students. And for the first time, 3 women judges from the NMI shared the stage to discuss their journeys and offer advice to youth interested in the field.
I was at age 34 starting out law school, so it's a profession that is pretty flexible in terms of what you want to do after high school and get a degree in something else. You can still become a lawyer.
This generation of students have much more opportunities than we had going. You have an opportunity to see what it feels or could be like if you pursued law.
One student asked the judges what they love most about being a woman.
1, we're always right. No?
Yes, sir.
All right. 2, we get our own month, Women's Month. But 3, as I sit here today in the year 2024, I can say I can do everything a man can do. I have the privilege to do everything that a man can do.
And in our next story, we speak with 2 firefighters who are organizing local firefighters for better treatment, fair wages, and benefits. It's the first of its kind in the NMI, the Northern Marianas Professional Firefighters Union Local 5335, and its 82 members hope to put out fires in their profession to benefit everyone. Edward De La Cruz represents members from the Commonwealth Ports Authority's Aircraft Rescue and Firefighting Unit.
We're not here to knock down doors or take anybody out. We're here to help employers out and employees. We just need a chance to be able to open dialogue and educate them about what we're here for.
The union, created in 2021, is a nonprofit and affiliate of the International Association of Firefighters, which represents more than 343,000 firefighters and paramedics across the U.S. and Canada. Fire Captain Paul Sasamoto is the union's president and represents members at the Department of Fire and Emergency Medical Services. He shares some concerns over his 2 decades of service.
I experienced 13 years of no WGI. So we're looking for WGI, fair wages, fair treatment, and benefits.
So our biggest 2 target goals with the union right now, with the government, is to initiate a collective bargaining agreement. Now, we're one firefighting union. We represent CPA and DFEM's employees. However, we're trying to initiate a collective bargaining agreement with CPA for our firefighters, and we're trying to initiate a collective bargaining agreement with Division of Fire Emergency Medical Services with DFEM's employees. That's the main total goal of this, is to come to the table and say, hey, we want to collectively bargain, just like they did in Guam and all these other states and territories with the municipality. The second goal is trying to start a paramedic program here. I understand that critics are saying that we don't need this, but then it's greatly needed to have a paramedic program.
They're also advocating for the health and safety of first responders. Thank you again for joining us on CNMI Weekly. We'll have more stories from the Northern Marianas right after this. Welcome back to CNMI Weekly. In our next report, we speak with scientists on the front line working to preserve and protect our Marianas endangered bird species. The NMI Division of Fish and Wildlife is working to protect birds that can only be found in the Marianas.
We have been trying to create redundant or kind of insurance populations for our native bird species.
The preparation is critical, especially with the risk of brown tree snakes invading the NMI. On Wednesday morning, we met with the biologists at the front line in northern Saipan.
The native birds that we're here today for is the nightingale reed warbler. Nightingale reed warbler is locally known as Gaga karisu, which translates to animal of the reeds.
The Saipan reed warbler is critically endangered after the introduction of brown tree snakes on Guam, volcanic eruptions in the northern islands, and habitat loss. They used to thrive on Guam, Pagan, and Goat Island, but now only exist on Saipan, where 75% of the population is, and Alamagan.
All of the predators that they've had to encounter are introduced predators, and they're very vulnerable to drastic population changes.
The DFW is partnering with the Pacific Bird Conservation to study the bird's diet and behavior for eventual translocation.
We are just wanting to get more information on the species and practice our techniques.
We put up really fine nets that are difficult to see, and as the birds fly through the area, we'll get them in a mist net. We're able to get them out. We have veterinarians out here with us that are able to look over the birds. We're able to collect biosamples.
The project also prepares the next generation of scientists. Northern Marianas College student Alexi Rebuenog interns with the PBC.
I'm here helping out, and it's been amazing. I've had hands-on experience mist netting the reed warblers and other native species.
It's all part of an effort to keep the island's wild birds thriving in the wild. Now, it's no question it's been a tough few years for businesses on Saipan. KUAM recently sat down with a few local businesses in the heart of Saipan's tourist district who share some of their frustrations. Hoffabean co-owner Christine Hofschneider-Taylor and her husband Luther took the risk and opened a new cafe after a pandemic over a year ago.
Moving back to Saipan, we really didn't know how it was going to be.
But she says the risk was worth it, and while they welcome everyone through their doors, they're especially focused on serving locals.
I think it's super important that my husband and I focused on the local community because these are the people that are here every day.
But building community can be difficult amid a fiscal crisis. Hofschneider-Taylor hopes small businesses can get more support in the uncertain tourism market, such as being promoted during major events like cruise ship visits. It's a struggle familiar to longtime business owner Steve Jang, the general manager of Ete Cafe and Plumeria Steakhouse just down the street from Hofabine.
It's just the name of the game right now is to survive. If I'm very happy that I pay my staff, I'm very happy that I'm paying CUC. But if we want to change the dynamic of Saipan, there are certain things that we have to take in action as a government and as a whole community. We would like to I'd like to see some of the changes of the Saipan, such as like image of Saipan.
That image includes infrastructure projects that face major delays. He's also concerned about public safety and says there is a need for heightened law enforcement. Less than a mile away, business owner John Lee, who helps operate Cha Cafe, American Pizza and Grill, and Hoffaday Roasting Company, shares similar concerns. He says lawmakers need to better communicate with them.
We have not had a single program from the COVID funds that have supported small businesses. In every jurisdiction in the U.S., including Guam, have had some kind of small business support.
He says they do their best to hire and train young locals, but they can't do it alone, and major infrastructure project delays in Garapan do not help.
If there is no funding for it and the entire district, the heartbeat of Saipan, is paralyzed, what are we going to do?
Don't go away, we'll have more news from the Northern Marianas right after this. Welcome back to CNMI Weekly. In our next report, we speak with the U.S. Department of Labor after they collected tips, unpaid wages, and damages from 2 Saipan restaurants. The U.S. Department of Labor recovered $52,000 in tips, unpaid wages, and damages after an investigation into Mura Ichiban Restaurant and Namdae Moon Restaurant on Saipan. Terrence Trotter is the U.S. Department of Labor's District Director for Pacific Island Communities.
Just like there's standards for the food that the customers expect to eat in a restaurant, there's standards for the people that serve the food. And we want to make sure that people get their entitlement to at least their baseline minimum wage, overtime when worked, and they get to retain the tips. And in this particular case, we found that tips left on credit cards were not dispersed to the workers. There were some other issues as it relates to delayed payment, which led to the non-payment of minimum wages and overtime to some workers. But the consistent violation that occurred across both establishments was the retention of tips.
The back wages recovered were $12,316 in withheld credit card tips for 10 employees, over $11,000 in unpaid minimum wage for 6 employees, close to $3,000 in unpaid overtime for 6 employees, and over $26,000 in liquidated damages for 13 employees, and $1,500 in civil money penalties.
If you are reading this release or you're viewing this program, and you are an employee and the employer is retaining your tips or a portion of your tips, you can contact the U.S. Department of Labor. If you're an employer and you want to change your practice because you had previously been retaining tips, especially tips on credit cards, for example, it's an opportunity to change your practices. So yes, we are in the community, we are visiting with employers, and we are collecting back wages.
And in our next report, we bring you to the island of Rota, where we learn about the second largest Ladi village in the Marianas. The Motsong ancient Ladi village is described as the best preserved and the second largest Ladi village in the Marianas. KUAM News visited the site with Antonelli Rosario, who works with the Historic Preservation Office on Rota.
This area right now, where on my background, it represents the Motsong Ladi Wall here in Motsong. Ladi wall is a very rare and very unique of kind of structure, ancient Chamorro structure that was being built and located next to the shoreline. And Ladi wall on my backside, it represents a site that it means that it's not used for a residence, it's been used for a kind of Chamorro meeting were all villagers or leaders that comes over and they had their own meeting in this area.
The village is believed to have been occupied for over 3,000 years.
In this Ladi site on Mochung, most of the Ladi site we had here is about 50 individual Ladi set in this village. And most of the Ladi village here have been used for house foundation, for the house, where they built the house on the top to avoid getting flood. And also Ladi stone have been used also to mark and burial site.
Human skeletal remains were found buried around or within the houses. They also found grinding stones, fishing tools, and pottery pieces.
This location is very important to be maintained because it's very rare village of Ladi stone and different design. So we use it also for public education, where students comes over from different school, different island, just same from different places around the world. They always come over and visit the Ladi stone, and they really want to know more about what those people are and where these Samoa people come from.
It's a history people like Rosario help preserve. And as we wrap up our newscast, we now bring you to Project Prom. It aims to create an inclusive and safe environment for high schoolers on that big day. Project Prom aims to empower NMI high school juniors and seniors to become peer advocates against sexual assault. The Northern Marianas Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence is seeking donations of new or gently used prom attire, jewelry, and unused makeup supplies for high school proms. Leading up to the big day, students will select their outfits after going through a workshop.
During the workshop, we provide a lot of basics on understanding what sexual assault and sexual harassment is, how to be peer advocates, and then we also provide resources in case there are people that they know, if they or the others that they know have experienced sexual violence and they know where to go.
This year, the organization is actively seeking more male attire, which is in high demand. They're accepting donations until May at various locations in Saipan. The initiative comes at a critical time.
We do know that based off of some research, national research, I believe it's 2/3 of teen date rapes happen and sexual assault happen prominently around prom season and graduation season. So it's pretty big, and we're hoping that through this entire campaign, we can really empower the youth to just advocate for themselves and for others too.
Thank you so much for tuning in to CNMI Weekly. We'll see you here again next Friday. I'm Thomas Manglona, reporting on Saipan.